Welcome to MCN and another episode of the Bikes We Buy. Now, you've not seen this bike before, and we're going to come to that in a minute, but you've also not seen this man to my left. This is Lewis. He's our new road tester, and hopefully a younger, better looking Michael Neves, if you will. But Lewis is obviously quite a young fella, but he's an old head on young shoulders. Now, one of the reasons that kind of we thought you were kind of a good fit is that, obviously, young bloke, but also you've got an interest in older stuff as well.
Yeah.
Now, before this, we'll get onto this in a moment,
Yeah.
but you've had quite a bit of 90 stuff in your history, haven't you? So just run us through some of those.
Yeah. So I've had a 96 ZX-4RR, red of the purple wheels. That was a great handling bike. I've had a 1993 RGV 250, Honda CB1 400, like Jap Import 400 naked bike that we didn't officially get in this country.
Yep.
And a Honda NSR 125. It was just at the end of the 90s and the RBF colour scheme, but that's a pretty cool bike as well.
Okay. And then sports bike wise, as you sort of progressed through, got your licence and so forth, you had a GSX-R 600. Which one was that?
L1 model, so it's the 2011, so just a sweet spot for me.
Yeah,
so
very similar to Neves' 750.
Yep.
So that kind of affinity for 90 bikes probably explains why you chose this colour.
Yeah, exactly that. So when they first saying they were going to bring out a ZX-4RR, 400 four-cylinder like they did back in the 80s and 90s, I got well excited about it. I got, so I was like, I've got to have one of those just to really capture a bit of that, what it was like in the 90s, even though, times have moved on, the bikes are different. I thought just to recapture some of that would be fantastic.
Yep.
And then I got wind that they're doing a special colour scheme. And then it was actually these retro colours like the old ZX-R 750. And I was sold at that point. I was like, I've got to have it. I've got to have it. So
the paint tipped the balance for you?
The paint tipped the balance. So I probably was going to have one just being because it's a 400 four-cylinder, but because of that paint, I was like, yeah, had to have it.
Sure. And obviously you've gone kind of backing away from the 600, which is kind of a rev monster, great handling, good brakes, all the good stuff that we like about super sport bikes. How is it going back to a 400 with 30 horsepower less?
It's more of that, of what you emphasise. You have to work hard for your speed. You've got to work the gearbox, work the engine, and it makes it more of an enjoyable experience, especially for the road, because you get more out of it.
Yeah.
These 600s are great, obviously, as you well know, and obviously the bigger machines as well is, yes, you can tap into them on the road, but, with this, you can do it so much more safely. You're not completely risking your licence, it's just so much more fun.
Yeah, indeed.
Just absolutely, especially on B roads, it's an absolute little hoot.
Although you say you're not risking your licence, we did a group test with one of these last year, and I'd probably argue otherwise. But
no, you get there's things at the end of it. Yeah, exactly that.
So how long have you had this now?
I've had this since March year just gone, back in 24.
Okay, so about 10 months thereabouts.
I had to wait. So I originally put an order for one of these in October 2023 when they first, after they originally launched back at Calicut Circuit, and obviously this anniversary colour wasn't actually announced at all. But yeah, I put my order back in 23. I had to wait 6 months for it, so
yeah, bit of a
it's actually
waiting
come
list.
through.
And how was it when you finally got it? Because obviously there's a little bit of a build up there. You put the money down.
I tell you what,
excited.
I've never ever been so excited for a bike ever, if I'm honest. I've had some pretty cool machines, like especially with my RGV 250. That was an exciting buy,
Yeah.
but I think it's like you said. It's more the build up of the wait for it. Actually knowing how good it's going to be. Being like a modern revival. There's so much hype around it. But with this, and also it's my first ever brand new bike I bought, so that's another thing as well. So that's why I got a bit excited for it.
Very special, rolling it out with 0 miles on.
100%.
How many miles are you up to now?
1,700 mile now.
1,700 miles.
So
okay.
it's all been dry mileage, as you sort of expect for this. Like I know I like to keep my bikes pristine, but mostly just been during the summer.
Yeah, sure. I should probably actually point out that what I say about him being an old head on young shoulders is that you've got another bike as well. You've got a 1300 GS.
Yeah, I've got a 1300 GS as well, which some people will criticise for my age, saying to have that I probably need to add 20 years to my age at least. But no, that's a fantastic bike in its own right, as a lot of what we all know.
Sure. So that allows you to keep this one for sort of special occasions, really.
Yeah, 100%.
So 1,700 miles, you've got it nice and running and kind of got used to it.
Yeah.
What are the best bits of it? What are the bits that kind of really sort of make you want to take this out on a Sunday over the GS, which is in its own right and sort of another good fun tool as well?
Really, for this, although it's got its hard-working character of working the engine, working the gearbox, at the same time, it's so easy to ride. It's roomy when you're sitting. I'm just over 6 foot, so you imagine this being quite cramped, but is actually quite roomy, to be fair. I don't get any aches on it. It's just easy to get on and just go. It's always got two sides to it. So if you remember the old 400s back in the day, they were so revvy, and you had bugger all torque down low. And this has got, because it's a modern engine, you've got a bit more torque low end. So if you are in a bit of a higher gear, you know, the engine's still a little bit flexible. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like, you know, bottom end torque like a big engine, but you know what I mean? It's just a bit more better low.
It at least kind of gets moving.
It gets moving, so you haven't got to be on the ball every time. You haven't got to be riding like a lunatic all the time. But when you do want a bit of fun, and yeah, you have to up the pace and get things working, and yeah, it's a fantastic bit of kit.
So just sort of following on from that point about the classic 400s, I mean, I love those as well, but this is the only manufacturer that has kind of reinvented it. So if you want one, that's your lot now. But when we've tested that bike, if you're kind of considering that sort of entry-level, sort of screaming sports bike, there's options like the R7, the Daytona 660, GSX-8R, RS660, Honda CBR 650R as well. Did you consider any of those?
The only other one I actually was on my radar since this first release was the RS660 Aprilia. It's quite an interesting format, 100 horsepower twin. From what I've read about them, the only bike I've rode in that sort of class, not necessarily rode it direct, but experienced the engine terms, is, so the R7 uses the same engine as the MT-07.
Yep.
I've had experience with that engine, that 700 twin, and its class appeals to a more usable thing. This isn't for a newer rider as such. It's easy going, like in terms of, you know, the geometry of it, sitting and everything like that. But because of its nature of how it's got to be worked, I don't class it as an beginner. Whereas the others are so much more friendly, like, you know, the MT-07 engine inside that R7.
Yeah.
You've got a wide range of uses. That you've got low end torque. You haven't got to work it hard. You can work it hard, of course, but you haven't got to at the same time. It's just an easy going bike. The RS660 is a bit more of a work hard bike, which is, so that was the only closest thing I was sort of, you know, closest to this. It's obviously got that Italian sort of flair with it as well. But apart from that, that's it really out of them choices, to be fair.
No, I'm a little bit surprised you didn't go for it, because I mean, here in the UK we get some great deals on Aprilias, and actually they're not really any more than these, and it's got more performance. And
no, it has got more performance. I know, it's just literally the fact of, because I'm such a fan of these 400s, and as soon as they've done a modern revival, everything else went out the windows. I've got, this has got to be it for me.
Fair enough.
So
I don't blame you at all.
So it had to be this.
Absolutely. And obviously the appeal of small super sport bikes is the chassis. How have you got on with that? Because it's sort of harking back to those 90s 400s, they were kind of really high spec. They got kind of the best of the best in the day.
Best, yeah.
Whereas this is a little bit more built to a price to make this kind of affordable for the sort of customers that want to buy them. How have you got on with that side of things?
I was a bit disappointed when this was first announced. Now it's going to have a steel frame, if I'm honest. I thought it was going to be, you know, aluminium, but it wasn't. But if I'm honest, it's quite a flexible chassis. It works really well. And the thing with this is quite a good characteristic with this. When you're harrowing on the B roads and you're really on the boil, even though I haven't properly set up the suspension yet, it's still quite soft in its standard setting. The bike almost feels like it's pivoting underneath you when you're cornering. It just feels so pinpoint perfect. Yeah. I haven't found the need to, you know, fine-tune suspension to me yet, because like I say, it's just fun as it is.
Sure.
You've still got a serious bit to it. I mean, the chassis allows you to correct as well as you're going along. So, you know, just a bit less throttle on the frame, you know, and the brakes, everything will compensate for you to just, you know, trim a bit of a line without, you know, fine-tune. Like I said, the suspension isn't fine-tuned. I mean, it's still pretty soft, but it's still a real good quality, fun ride. Yeah. And the brakes work really well too. The ABS is quite intrusive though, but a lot of modern Japanese bikes are all quite intrusive. But that's probably the brakes is my only. They bite well. It's just you lack a bit of feeling at the front end, really, if I'm honest. But apart from that, I've got no fault with that. Standard tyres, coming on Dunlop GPR 300s.
That's right, yeah.
A lot of people report that they're terrible. They're not terrible. Like, they'll still grip, but they just got a vague feeling from them. The rear can overheat quite quick, especially in the summer when you're really on the boil. But apart from that, they still got grip. Like, they won't just suddenly, you know, break away and lose. But I mean, if I say to anyone, if they ever get one of these, change the standard tyres straight away. Really, get something more sticky on there.
Yeah, I think they're one of those cost.
The bike deserves it, really.
Yeah. So, in terms of modifications, because I mean, kind of young guys, I mean, I've seen your car as well and made some criticisms on that. But in terms of your modifications, but have you got a bit of a plan to play around with this a little bit, improve it and personalise it a little bit as well?
My only thing with this, so standard it should come with a much more ghastly silencer than what's on there. So that's the OEM fit Akrapovic silencer. I did have the thoughts to do a full system, get it mapped properly, and you get a bit more power out of this. But then I thought, it's only on use for special occasion. I'm a bit finicky of being OEM plus. So I like modifications that are proper, like, you know, manufacturer fit, just give that a little bit better. But then I thought about it a bit more. I was going to change the stock internals in the front forks because you only get preload adjustment, that's it. Like, you don't get, there's nothing there. The rear shock's fine. You know, there's plenty of adjustment there.
We only get the RR here in the UK.
Only get the RR, so top spec.
It's actually got a bit more adjustment. So yeah, maybe bringing the forks up to that.
Maybe the forks, but I mean, apart from that, but I mean, it's not, you know, an emergency sort of thing, you know, to do like one straight away. I mean, to be fair, I'm happy with it as it is, to be fair. Apart from, full system. You can get on models the performance kit. So that includes a tinted screen. That exhaust that's already on that silencer from Akrapovic as well. You can get a rear seat cowl in green and a tank pad, but again, I mean, that's all just extras. It's not really needed, but I think I'll just leave it as it is, to be fair.
Okay. And with being so single-minded as well, is there sort of a danger that in 6 months, 12 months' time, you think you're going to be, I'm a bit bored of this, maybe I need something a little bit more sort of varied and with a bit more range as well, because obviously it's good for local blast and maybe a bit of track time as well.
But and that's it, yeah, exactly that. Apart from that, you don't get any more range out of this. No, to be honest, it's because, not just for this bike, I've got such a fascination, 80s, 90s and early noughties of that time of bikes. And my all-time favourite bikes is 252 strokes and 400 4-cylinder, the imports we had back in the day. I've got an absolute fascination with them. And because of that fascination alone, I can't let this go. This will stay with me. Now, I know people say, oh, you know, things can change in the future, but I've got to keep this because it just every time you get on it, it's just the smile it puts in your face is just, unreal. Even if it is just a pure B-road blast toy just for the Sunday morning, I love it.
Sure. Now, 2 bikes, lucky man. If, say the landlord came to you and said, right, I'm putting the rent up and you need to pay for it now, and you've got to get rid of a bike to pay for it, which one's going to go?
Oh, the GS is going straight away, This will stay. This is the sort of bike that I'd you know, take something more and then put in the living room, you know, as long as that was allowed. But this is the one I keep. The GS can go. The GS is a great bike and I love a GS. I've had a couple of GSs now, but this is the one to stay. Right,
so this is clearly a keeper, and I look forward to sitting in the car park a little bit more this summer.
100%.
Now, we'll be doing some more of these in the future, and if you want to see those, make sure you subscribe, like this video, drop a comment, tell Lewis if you made the right choice in this class as well, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.